I should have known something was wrong when he asked me to delete all my social media before coming to Pakistan. He said it was for my safety, that people there did not understand American culture the way he did, that photos of me in tank tops or at bars with friends would cause problems for his traditional family. It seemed reasonable at the time. Protective, even. Thoughtful. I thought he was looking out for me, shielding me from judgment, making my transition into his world easier. I was so incredibly, devastatingly stupid. My name is Jessica Martinez. I am 28 years old, from Phoenix, Arizona. I grew up in a comfortable middle-class home with parents who loved each other, went to decent public schools, got my nursing degree from Arizona State University without taking on crushing debt. I had the kind of unremarkable American life that seems boring until you no longer have it and would give anything to get it back. This is the story of how I walked willingly into a prison of my own making, how I watched the door lock behind me while I smiled and called it love, and how I barely escaped with my life and nothing else. This is my warning to you. This is the price of ignoring every red flag, because loneliness makes you desperate and desperation makes you blind. It started, like so many disasters do these days, with a simple message on Instagram. I was scrolling through my feed one evening after a long shift at the hospital where I worked as a nurse in the emergency department. Exhausted, lonely, recently broken up with my boyfriend of 3 years, who had decided he wanted to focus on his medical residency instead of our relationship. His exact words were, "I cannot give you what you need right now," which was code for I met someone else, but I am too cowardly to admit it. I was 27. Heartbroken in that specific way where you are more angry than sad, scrolling mindlessly through other people's carefully curated lives at 11 at night because sleep felt impossible. That is when the message came through. The message was from someone named Farhan Ahmed. His profile showed a handsome man in his early 30s with dark hair, warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled, wearing a white button-down shirt that looked professionally pressed. Professional. Clean-cut, respectable-looking, safe. His bio said he was a doctor in Lahore, Pakistan, working in emergency medicine just like me. His feed was full of medical posts, photos from the hospital, educational content about trauma care. He looked legitimate, credible, like someone who understood my world. "Hello. I saw your profile through the healthcare workers group we are both members of. I am also in emergency medicine. Your posts about your work are very inspiring. I admire nurses who are as dedicated as you clearly are. Would you like to connect and perhaps share experiences from our respective medical systems?" It seemed innocent enough. Professional networking between medical colleagues from different countries. Nothing romantic, nothing suspicious. I accepted his follow request and responded with equal professionalism. "Thank you. What kind of emergency medicine do you practice in Pakistan?" And that is how it started. That is the moment I opened the door that would eventually trap me. That is when I made the first in a long series of catastrophic decisions that would destroy my life as I knew it. We started talking about work, which felt safe and appropriate, about the challenges of emergency medicine, about difficult cases that kept us up at night, about the satisfaction of saving lives and the grief of losing patients despite our best efforts. Farhan was articulate, thoughtful, passionate about his work in ways that reminded me why I had chosen nursing in the first place. He told me about working in Pakistan's under-resourced medical system, about treating patients who could not afford basic care, about the frustration of watching people die from preventable conditions because of poverty and lack of access. He spoke about it with such compassion, such genuine concern for his patients, that I found myself drawn to him in ways I had not anticipated. After 2 weeks of professional conversation, things shifted imperceptibly at first. He started asking more personal questions. Was I married? Did I have family nearby? What did I want from my future? I found myself opening up to him in ways that felt natural, easy, like talking to someone who actually understood the demands and emotional toll of medical work. He told me about his life in Pakistan beyond the hospital. He was 32, the oldest son in a conservative Muslim family. His parents were pressuring him to get married, wanted to arrange a match with a cousin from their village. But he wanted something different. He wanted someone educated, someone who understood the demands of medical work, someone who shared his passion for helping others. "I have always felt different from the people around me," he said in a voice message one night, his accent making certain words sound softer, more intimate, like I do not quite fit in my own culture. "When I talk to you, I feel understood in a way I never have before. You get it. You get me." Those words hit something deep in me, something vulnerable and hungry for validation. I felt the same way. Different. Misunderstood. Looking for someone who saw me as more than just a nurse. More than just another woman approaching 30 without a ring or a clear plan. 3 months into our daily conversations, Farhan said the words that changed everything, though I did not recognize them as the beginning of my end. "Jessica, I think I am falling in love with you." My heart stopped. I was sitting in my apartment in Phoenix. The desert sun setting outside my window in shades of orange and pink, holding my phone like it contained something precious and dangerous in equal measure. This was not supposed to happen. We were colleagues, friends, people who understood each other's work, but somewhere along the way it had become more. "I think I am falling in love with you too," I typed back, my hands shaking slightly. "What do we do about this?" he asked. "You are there. I am here. Our lives are so different. Our worlds are so far apart." "I do not know," I admitted. "But I want to figure it out. I want to try." "Then come to Pakistan," he said, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. "Come meet me. Meet my family. Let us see if this is real, if what we have can exist outside of screens and messages." I hesitated for approximately 3 seconds before mentally planning my trip. It seemed fast, seemed risky, seemed like something a foolish woman would do. But I was tired of being careful, tired of being sensible, tired of watching life pass me by while I played it safe. I wanted adventure. I wanted love. I wanted something that felt significant. I booked a flight to Lahore for 2 weeks in December, 6 months after that first professional message. I told my family I was taking a vacation, visiting a colleague who was showing me Pakistan's medical system. I did not tell them about Farhan specifically. I knew they would freak out, would lecture me about internet safety and stranger danger, like I was a naive teenager instead of a grown woman with a college degree and a professional career. My coworkers thought I was insane. Going to Pakistan alone? For a guy you met online? "Jessica, please tell me you are joking. Please tell me you are smarter than this." But I was not joking. And I was not as smart as I thought I was. The flight from Phoenix to Lahore was brutal. Nearly 24 hours with connections, crossing time zones and continents, and any semblance of my previous life. I barely slept, too nervous, too excited, too terrified. What if he was not who he said he was? What if this was all some elaborate scam? What if I was walking into danger? But when I finally walked through arrivals at Allama Iqbal International Airport, exhausted and disoriented and sweating in clothes too warm for Pakistan's climate, I saw him, Farhan, standing there with a bouquet of roses, wearing casual clothes instead of the professional attire from his photos, but somehow even more handsome in person. Our eyes met across the crowded arrivals hall. He smiled, and every doubt, every fear, every warning from friends evaporated like steam. He was real. He was exactly as kind as his messages suggested. And when he smiled at me like I was something precious, I felt like I had finally come home after being lost for years. "Jessica," he said softly, my name and his accent sounding like music. "You came. You are really here. I cannot believe you are really here." "I am here," I said, and let him pull me into a hug that was both appropriate and intimate, lasting just long enough to make me feel wanted. He did not kiss me, not there in public. He explained later that public displays of affection were completely inappropriate in Pakistan, especially in conservative areas, especially for unmarried people. Instead, he took my luggage, and led me outside into the chaos of Lahore traffic and noise and overwhelming sensory input. The heat hit me first, despite it being December. Nothing like the dry heat of Arizona, but humid and heavy. Then the noise. Car horns constant and aggressive, people shouting, the call to prayer echoing from nearby mosques. The smell of exhaust mixed with spices and street food, and something else I could not identify. A taxi took us to a hotel in Defense, an upscale area of Lahore. Farhan had chosen it carefully, he explained, because it was one of the few places where a foreign woman could stay without too many questions, where we could meet in public areas without causing scandal. In the taxi, our hands found each other in the space between us where the driver could not see. His palm was warm, slightly rough from frequent hand-washing that all medical professionals develop. Mine was soft, moisturized, my nails painted pink because I had wanted to look pretty for him. "I am so happy you are here," he said, switching between English and Urdu as he directed the driver. "You have no idea how much this means to me. How brave you are for coming." I did not feel brave. I felt terrified and exhilarated in equal measure, like I was standing on the edge of something I did not fully understand. That first week was magical in the way fairy tales are magical, beautiful and perfect, and completely divorced from reality. Farhan took time off work, something he said was difficult, but worth it to spend time with me. We spent every day together, exploring Lahore, talking for hours about everything and nothing. He showed me the city through his eyes, the beautiful Badshahi Mosque with its intricate marble work, the chaotic energy of the walled city and its narrow streets, the Lahore fort with centuries of history carved into its walls, food from street vendors that was spicy and delicious and sometimes made my stomach hurt, but I ate it anyway because I wanted to experience everything. We ate at restaurants he knew, places that served traditional Pakistani food with such care and flavor that I understood for the first time that food could be art. We drank chai so sweet it made my teeth ache. We talked about our childhoods, our dreams, what we wanted from life beyond just surviving day to day. He told me about his family, about growing up with parents who were loving but strict, about expectations for him as the oldest son to be successful, to marry appropriately, to carry on family traditions, about feeling trapped sometimes by responsibilities he had not chosen but could not escape. I told him about my family in Phoenix, about feeling like I had lived a life without real challenges or struggles, about guilt for having things so easy when others suffered, about wanting to matter, to make a difference, to be more than just another middle-class American girl with a comfortable life. "You matter to me," he said one evening as we sat in a park watching families play. "You matter more than you know." Those words, those dangerous, intoxicating words, they made me feel seen in ways I had never felt seen before. He introduced me to his friends, or people he claimed were his friends. Young professionals, doctors and engineers and business owners who were warm and welcoming. They teased him about having an American girlfriend, asked me questions about life in the United States, made me feel included and valued. With them, I felt accepted in a way that made me forget how foreign I was, how out of place I really was. But he did not introduce me to his family. Not yet. When I asked why on my 8th day there, he became serious in a way that should have alarmed me. "My family is very traditional, very conservative, very strict about Islamic values," he said, choosing his words carefully. "They would not understand our relationship the way it exists right now. To them, you are a foreign woman, not Muslim, in a relationship with their son outside of marriage. They would see it as haram, forbidden, shameful to our family name." "So when will I meet them?" I asked, trying to keep the hurt and confusion out of my voice. He took my hand, his expression earnest and pained. "When we are engaged. When I can present you to them as my future wife, not as my girlfriend." In Pakistani culture, in Islamic culture, there is no casual dating. If a man and woman are spending time together, it means marriage is the intention. Once we are engaged, Once I can show them I am serious about you, they will have to accept you. Are you saying you want to marry me? My pulse was racing, excitement and terror mixing. He looked at me with those warm brown eyes that seemed so sincere. Yes. I want to marry you. I want to build a life with you. But I need time to prepare my family. This is Pakistan. Things work differently here. Will you be patient with me? Will you trust me to handle this the right way? I said yes. Of course I said yes. What lonely woman would not say yes to a handsome doctor proposing marriage after 2 weeks of feeling more alive and valued than she had felt in years? What woman would question the man who seemed to understand her better than she understood herself? On my last night in Lahore, Farhan took me to a rooftop restaurant with views of the city lights stretching to the horizon. It was beautiful in a way that felt impossible, like something from a movie rather than real life. Jessica, these 2 weeks have been the happiest of my life, he said, holding both my hands across the table. I do not want this to end. I do not want to go back to just messages and video calls and missing you. Come back. Move here. Marry me. We can build a beautiful life together. You can work in our hospital system, make a real difference with patients who desperately need your skills. I laughed nervously, overwhelmed. Farhan, I have a job, an apartment, a life in Phoenix. I cannot just abandon everything. What kind of life? He asked gently but pointedly. You told me yourself you feel empty there. You told me your job is exhausting and thankless, that you feel like a cog in a machine. Here, with me, you would have purpose. You would have love. You would have the adventure you have been craving. Is that not worth more than a job that drains you, and an apartment you live in alone? He was right about everything, which was exactly why his words were so effective and so dangerous. My life in Phoenix was empty. I worked long shifts in a hospital that was understaffed and overwhelming. I lived in a small apartment where I ate meals alone and watched Netflix until I fell asleep. I had friends, but they were all getting married or having babies or moving away for better opportunities. I had nothing anchoring me except inertia and fear. What would I do in Pakistan? I asked, grasping for practical objections. I do not speak Urdu. My nursing license is not valid here. I do not know anything about living in this culture. You can learn Urdu. We can work on getting your nursing credentials recognized, or you can work in an international clinic that hires foreign medical staff. Or you could just be my wife. I make enough money to support both of us comfortably. You would not have to work if you did not want to immediately. You could adjust, settle in, be happy. The idea was seductive beyond reason. To be taken care of, to have purpose, to be loved, to have an adventure, to escape the grinding monotony of a life that felt like it was going nowhere. Let me think about it, I said. Though even then I was already planning my return. But in my heart, sitting on that rooftop under Pakistani stars with this beautiful man holding my hands, I had already decided I was going to throw away everything I knew for a chance at something that felt real and significant. I should have known better. I should have asked harder questions. I should have demanded to meet his family before committing to anything. But I did not. And that mistake would cost me everything. I flew back to Phoenix and immediately started dismantling my life with terrifying efficiency. I gave notice at the hospital, citing personal reasons and family obligations, ignoring the disappointed looks from my nurse manager who had invested time in training me. I gave up my apartment, selling furniture cheaply on Facebook Marketplace, and donating clothes to Goodwill because shipping things to Pakistan seemed impossibly complicated. I told my parents I had met someone, that I was moving abroad for an adventure, that I would be fine. Their reaction was everything I expected and dreaded, but chose to ignore anyway. My mother cried. My father got angry in that quiet way that was somehow worse than yelling. Jessica, you barely know this man, my mother said, her voice breaking. What if he is not who he says he is? What if something happens to you there? We cannot protect you if you are on the other side of the world. Mom, I am 28 years old. I am a nurse. I know how to take care of myself. I have done my research. Farhan is a doctor. He has a good family. This is a real opportunity. My father was more direct. This is insane. You are throwing away your career, your home, your safety, for a man you met on Instagram and spent 2 weeks with. Do you hear how crazy that sounds? It is not crazy. It is following my heart. It is taking a chance on something real, instead of staying stuck in a life that makes me miserable. If you do this, my father said, his voice hard, do not expect us to bail you out when it goes wrong. Because it will go wrong, Jessica. Men who isolate women from their families, who move them to foreign countries, who rush them into marriage, those are not good men. Those are dangerous men. But I did not believe him. I thought he was being overprotective, old-fashioned, unable to understand that this was different. Farhan was different. Our love was different. I was different. I was so catastrophically wrong about all of it. I moved to Lahore in March, 8 months after that first Instagram message. Farhan met me at the airport again, but this time there were no roses, no romantic gestures. He seemed stressed, distracted, apologizing repeatedly as we drove to the apartment he had found for us. It is not perfect, he said, as we pulled up to a building in an area called Johar Town, but it is what I could afford on my salary. And it is temporary. Once we are married and I tell my family, things will be better. The apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that looked newer than I expected, but somehow still run down. 2 small bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that was basically a closet with a stove. It was significantly worse than the hotels we had stayed in during my visit, but Farhan assured me it was normal for young professionals in Lahore. The first month, I tried to convince myself everything was fine. Farhan went to work at the hospital every day. I stayed in the apartment, studying Urdu using apps and YouTube videos, cooking meals from recipes I found online, trying to make our small space feel like home. We had dinner together most nights. We talked about our days. We made love quietly because the walls were thin and neighbors were nosy. But small things started to feel wrong in ways I could not quite articulate at first. Money was always tight, tighter than Farhan had suggested it would be. He was always short on cash, always borrowing from me until his next paycheck. The rent was expensive, he explained. Utilities were high. Supporting 2 people on his salary was harder than he had anticipated. I offered to look for work, eager to contribute and feel useful. But Farhan said my American nursing license was not recognized in Pakistan, and getting it converted would take months of paperwork and bureaucracy. He said international clinics rarely hired foreign nurses. He said it was better if I just focused on learning the language and culture for now, on preparing to be a good Pakistani wife once we were married. I had savings from selling everything in Phoenix, about $12,000. It was supposed to last me at least 6 months, maybe a year if I was careful. But Farhan kept needing it for various emergencies that seemed to arise with alarming frequency. His mother needed expensive medication for her diabetes that insurance did not cover. His father's taxi business was struggling and needed an injection of cash. His younger sister needed school fees paid. His cousin needed help with a medical emergency. Every story was plausible, compelling, designed to make me feel like a heartless person if I questioned it. Over 4 months, I gave him $8,000. Most of my savings, my safety net, my emergency fund. Gone. I also started noticing inconsistencies in his stories about work. Some days he claimed he was at the hospital for 12-hour shifts, but then his phone would show locations that were nowhere near the hospital when he shared his ride service trips. When I asked about it, he became defensive. Sometimes I have meetings in other locations. Sometimes I have to visit patients at their homes. Why are you tracking me? Do you not trust me? I do trust you. I just want to understand your schedule so I know when to expect you home. You are being controlling. This is not how Pakistani wives behave. They trust their husbands. That argument became a pattern. Whenever I questioned anything, I was being too American, too controlling, not understanding Pakistani culture. I started second-guessing myself constantly, wondering if I was being unreasonable, if my expectations were inappropriate. Then came the conversation about his family. 4 months after I moved to Pakistan, Farhan said he was ready to introduce me. But there were conditions. "You need to convert to Islam first," he said one evening, his tone making it clear this was not negotiable. "My family will not accept you otherwise. It is a requirement for us to get married under Pakistani law anyway. A Muslim man can only marry a Muslim woman or a woman from the people of the book. And even then, my family would never approve. Farhan, I am not Muslim. You knew this from the beginning. I told you I was raised loosely Christian, but I am not really religious at all. I know. But this is Pakistan. Things work differently here. If you want to marry me, if you want my family to accept you, you need to convert. It is just words, Jessica. You do not have to believe it in your heart. You just have to say the words for the paperwork, for my family. That is not how religion works. I cannot just pretend to convert to Islam. Why not?" His voice was rising, frustration evident. "You said you loved me. You said you would do anything to be with me. This is what being with me requires. Is it really so much to ask?" I felt trapped. I had given up everything to be here. I had no job, no money, no support system. Going back to the United States meant admitting total failure. Meant facing my father's "I told you so." Meant restarting my entire life from zero. So I agreed. I agreed to convert to a religion I did not believe in for a man I was starting to suspect I did not really know. The conversion happened at a mosque in Lahore with Farhan and 2 male witnesses present. I wore a hijab for the first time, the fabric feeling like a costume, like I was pretending to be someone else. An imam asked me questions in Urdu that Farhan translated, though I suspect the translation was simplified. Then I recited the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. Words Farhan had made me memorize phonetically because I did not actually understand them. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulu Allah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Everyone congratulated me. Farhan looked relieved and happy. The imam said I was now a Muslim sister and welcomed me to the faith. I felt numb, hollow, like I had just signed away something fundamental about myself that I would never get back. After the conversion, Farhan said we could get married immediately. In Pakistan, he explained, once you convert and are serious about someone, there is no reason to wait. Marriage is the next immediate step, but I want my parents there, I protested weakly. I want my family to see me get married. We can have another ceremony in America later if you want. But Jessica, we need to get married here first for the paperwork, for my family, for everything to be legal. Please, trust me. So we got married 2 weeks later at a mosque in a simple ceremony I barely understood. I wore a red Pakistani bridal outfit that Farhan's female relatives had chosen for me. I did not understand most of what was said because it was in Arabic and Urdu. I just nodded when Farhan told me to, signed papers I could not read, smiled for photos with people I did not know. Farhan's family was there. His mother, Amina, was a small, severe woman who looked at me with thinly veiled disappointment. His father, Rashid, barely acknowledged me beyond a brief handshake. His siblings were polite but distant. Everyone spoke Urdu around me, occasionally remembering to translate, but mostly just leaving me isolated in the middle of my own wedding. After the ceremony, I became Farhan's wife, and that is when everything got worse. We moved in with his family 3 days after the wedding. Farhan said it was temporary, just until we saved enough money for our own place. But his parents expected it, required it, actually. In Pakistani culture, he explained, new brides live with the husband's family. It is tradition. It is respect. It is just how things are done. Their house was in a crowded neighborhood in an older part of Lahore. Small, cramped, with 7 people sharing 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Farhan and I were given a small room on the 2nd floor with a bed, a closet, and nothing else. No privacy, no space, no escape. The rules were immediate and non-negotiable. I was expected to wake up at 5 in the morning for Fajr prayer. I was expected to cover my hair at all times, even inside the house if Farhan's father or brothers were present. I was expected to help Amina with all household work, cooking, cleaning, laundry, everything. I was expected to serve the men their meals first, then eat with the women after the men were finished. I was expected to ask permission before leaving the house, and I was never allowed to leave alone. Pakistani wives serve their husbands and their husbands' families, Amina told me through Farhan's translation. This is our culture. This is Islam. You must learn to be a proper wife. But I am American, I protested to Farhan when we were alone. This is not how I was raised. This is not what I agreed to. You are Pakistani now. You converted. You married me. This is your life now. You need to accept it. Over the following weeks, I watched my freedom disappear piece by piece. My phone was taken by Amina, supposedly to put in a Pakistani SIM card but never returned. When I asked for it back, Farhan said his mother was keeping it safe, that I did not need it anyway since I was always home. I tried to contact my family using the house phone, but it was in the main living area where everyone could hear every word. The one time I tried to call my mother and started crying, Amina unplugged the phone and told Farhan I was causing drama and disrespecting the family. I was isolated completely. No phone, no internet access on my own. No way to contact anyone outside the house. No money of my own since Farhan had taken the remainder of my savings for family expenses. I was dependent on his family for everything: food, shelter, clothing, permission to exist. And Farhan changed. The kind, understanding man I had fallen in love with online disappeared completely. He became someone else, someone I did not recognize. When I questioned anything, he became aggressive. When I pushed back against his family's rules, he would grab my arm hard enough to leave bruises, tell me I needed to learn respect. In Pakistan, wives obey their husbands, he said, his voice cold. That is our culture. That is Islam. You agreed to this when you converted and married me. I started to understand that I had been lied to from the very beginning. Farhan was not a successful doctor. He worked occasionally at a small clinic, but mostly he was unemployed, living off his family, and now off my savings. His family was not traditional in a quaint cultural way. They were controlling, oppressive, treating me like property they now owned. I tried to leave. I packed a small bag one afternoon when everyone was out, planning to walk to the American embassy and beg for help. But Farhan caught me before I made it out the door. Where do you think you are going? His voice was dangerous, threatening. I am leaving. I am going home. This was a mistake. He grabbed my bag, threw it across the room, then grabbed my arms hard enough to make me cry out. You are not going anywhere. You are my wife, my property. You belong here now. Let me go or I will scream. He laughed, a harsh sound. Scream. Go ahead. No one will help you. This is Pakistan. Here, women who cause problems for their families are dealt with. You have no rights here. No one will take your side. I need my passport. I need to go home. His expression turned calculating. Your passport? I gave that to my father for safekeeping. You think I would let you keep it where you could just run away? That is illegal. You cannot take my passport. This is Pakistan. Your American laws do not apply here. You are under Pakistani law now, under my control, and you will do what I say. I was trapped. Completely, thoroughly trapped. No passport, no money, no phone, no way to contact anyone. Living in a house with people who saw me as property, married to a man who had systematically lied to me about every single aspect of his life. I spent the next month planning my escape with the desperation of a prisoner planning a breakout. I memorized the address of the American embassy. I hoarded small amounts of money whenever I could get it. I waited for my opportunity. It came on a Friday afternoon when most of the family went to mosque for Jummah prayer. I pretended to be sick with a headache, staying home. Amina was suspicious, but Farhan insisted I would be fine alone for an hour. As soon as they left, I moved faster than I thought possible. I found my passport in Rashid's room, hidden in a drawer beneath his clothes. I grabbed it, my old phone that had no SIM card but could connect to Wi-Fi, a few pieces of clothing, nothing else. I did not have time for anything else. I climbed out a window on the second floor because the doors were locked from the outside. I dropped into an alley, twisting my ankle but ignoring the pain. I ran. I had no idea where I was going. I just knew I needed to get far away before anyone came back. I found a small internet cafe 2 blocks away, used the Wi-Fi to message the American embassy through their emergency contact system, begged them to help me. They responded within 30 minutes, told me to get to a police station, any police station, and tell them I was an American citizen in danger, told me to stay in a public place, told me help was coming. Farhan called the cafe within an hour. The owner handed me the phone, looking uncomfortable. "Jessica, where are you? You need to come home right now. I am never coming back. You are my wife. You belong to me. Come home or there will be serious consequences." "I am at a police station," I lied. "The American embassy is sending someone." "It is over, Farhan." He was silent for a long moment. Then his voice turned cold. "If you do this, I will tell everyone you are a liar, that you used me for money and citizenship. I will ruin your reputation. No one will believe your story. I do not care anymore. I just want to go home." The embassy sent someone within 3 hours, a consular officer who helped me get to a secure location. They warned me it could take time to arrange my departure, that Farhan might try to contest it legally since we were married under Pakistani law. He did try. He filed complaints claiming I had stolen from him, that I was trying to leave the country illegally, that I was his wife, and needed his permission to travel. But the embassy had procedures for exactly this situation. They had seen it before, they said. Foreign women trapped in Pakistan, married to men who turned out to be nothing like they pretended online. It took 8 days to arrange my departure. 8 days of staying in a secure location, terrified that Farhan or his family would find me, processing what had happened, understanding how close I had come to losing everything, including possibly my life. When I finally boarded the plane back to Phoenix, I cried. Relief mixed with shame, gratitude mixed with grief for the naive woman I had been, terror at what might have happened if I had not escaped. I have been back in the United States for 6 months now. I moved back in with my parents, sleeping in my childhood bedroom at 28 years old, starting over from absolute zero. I have no job, no money, no apartment, no possessions beyond what I grabbed when I fled. The divorce is complicated. Pakistani law makes it nearly impossible for women to divorce men without their consent. But American lawyers are helping me, navigating international law, filing paperwork in both countries. It will take time, possibly years, but eventually I will be free. I also learned I was not alone in this nightmare. There are support groups online for Western women who were trapped in Pakistan, lured by men who presented one face online and revealed another in person. Romance scams that turn into captivity. Love stories that become prisons. Farhan still messages me sometimes on old social media accounts I forgot to block, alternating between begging me to come back and threatening to ruin me if I keep telling my story. I screenshot everything, send it to my lawyers, and block each new account as it appears. I learned that I was not stupid, though I felt stupid for so long. I was targeted during a vulnerable moment by someone skilled at manipulation, but I also learned that I ignored warning signs, dismissed concerns from people who loved me, chose fantasy over reality. Could things have been different if I had asked harder questions? If I had demanded to meet his family before converting or marrying? If I had kept my passport and phone and money secure? Yes. Absolutely yes. But I did not do those things. And I paid for it with months of my life, and almost paid with much more. I learned that some doors lock behind you, that some decisions cannot be undone easily, that some mistakes have consequences that last far longer than the moment of making them. If you are in an online relationship with someone from a conservative culture, learn from my catastrophic mistakes. Ask hard questions before visiting. Research the actual laws and customs, not just what your partner tells you. Keep your passport with you always. Never let anyone take it. Keep access to your own money. Tell people your exact location. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. And understand that love should never require you to give up your safety, your freedom, or your fundamental rights as a human being. I hope Farhan never does this to another woman. But I know he probably will. Men like him do not stop. They find new targets, new victims, new women to trap. I am still rebuilding, still in therapy, still processing what happened, still learning to trust myself again after trusting the wrong person so completely. But I survived. I escaped. And maybe by sharing my story, I can help someone else avoid making the same mistakes, help someone else recognize the warning signs before it is too late, help someone else understand that no amount of love is worth losing yourself completely.
Jessica learned that some cages have keys, but only if you are brave enough to use them before they rust shut forever. If you have been in a dangerous relationship or know warning signs when you see them, share your experience in the comments. Hit that like button if this story warned you about something important, and subscribe for more real stories about intercultural relationships. What culture should we explore next?